It's apparently. So there. If you didn't heed my warning, I'm sorry.
But they did say that if only one of them went down there, it would destroy them. But the fact that both of them were together holding hands and doing whatever the hell they were doing, that's what saved them.
Yeah.
Double regeneration powers completely negates atomizing something, apparently.
It's just like the Guardians of the Galaxy thing, right? When they were holding like the rock and they all joined hands and tried to conserve whatever. I don't know.
I was going to say probably the only plot point that made sense.
Yes.
Kelly just said.
Togetherness is power.
Yes.
Well, it's funny in that scene, I was waiting for an ass grab by Deadpool. When his shirt came off and he was like all ripped, I was ready for him to like, when he looked, I was ready for him to like.
Why did only the shirt come off? Wouldn't you think everything?
No,
the mask, the pants, everything would have come off. I mean, it's an R-rated movie. I mean,
that would have been awesome to extend it that way. But I know that was just a gratuitous thing to the past Logan and Wolverine movies because he's usually shirtless in that. He doesn't even have that costume on.
Yeah, it was a lot, but it was cool seeing him in the mask, like the Wolverine mask.
Yes,
that's the thing I was talking about. This non-spoiler film was like the fact that you got to see the mask when it came on. I was like, oh, it's the mask.
Yeah.
I thought I'd be like more like, yes, it's the mask. But I was like, oh, it's the mask.
Well, you know why? Because you were already so satisfied.
No, this is
you
true.
were waiting for that mask to come on, and you're going to be like, "Oh man, this is what I'm going to pop." But you had already popped 3 or 4 times up until that point.
Oh, did I?
Oh, and now it's the mask.
Now it's the mask.
It's like, hey, here comes the chocolate sundae after dinner
with the cherry.
This is. It was perfect. It was
it's
perfectly
a little
done.
piece of Swiss chocolate that your parents brought back.
I always thought when it came to that, I was like, it took over 20 years of Hugh Jackman, 16 times as Wolverine to give us this.
Mm-hmm.
What we've all been wanting from the beginning.
Go figure. Give the people what they want,
and they'll buy it again, right? I mean, there you go. Now you got your merchandising tool.
Yeah,
because I wanted to know how that mask would look in reality. Yeah, so I was like, up
until that point, I think we only saw it in a suitcase, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then the Wolverine.
Yeah.
And it had the whited out eyes in it too. It wasn't Hugh Jackman's eyes.
Yes, and I did not suspect that it was always on a little hood that he could just pull over at any point in time. Mm-hmm. I had no idea that that's where it was going to come from.
Yeah,
so it made it even more rewarding because I almost forgot about it and I almost didn't even need it. And so
I didn't need it either. Yeah,
it was like, wow, how great is that?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you 2 other things that I popped at, and I physically was elbowing Eli in the ribs. And as this was happening, as we were watching this movie, one was the Juggernaut. When the Juggernaut came back, I was just elbowing him like crazy, like, dude, the Juggernaut. Until I realized it wasn't Vinnie Jones.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That threw me off a little bit.
And then it kind of took me out of it for a minute. Like, why would you bring back the Juggernaut if it's not the real Juggernaut, which had me questioning the other guy. And I even asked Eli about this, who I thought was the Russian from The Punisher because he had the red and white striped shirt, who was my favorite wrestler of all time,
right.
Kevin Nash. And it's like, I know Kevin Nash would have done this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know who that schlub was that they got to go ahead and be, I guess, a knockoff of the Russian, but Kevin Nash should have been in that movie as the Russian.
He wasn't as impressive, this Juggernaut, as past Juggernauts.
No, he wasn't.
Movies, yeah.
And the Russian wasn't as impressive as Kevin Nash.
Yeah.
The second time was when Blade came on.
I was just about to say it. I popped when I saw him. I was like, holy that's really Wesley Snipes.
I know.
Oh my God.
I waited to be sure.
Yes.
That it wasn't the new guy.
Right.
Yeah.
I was the same way. I was like, oh snap, that is Wesley Snipes.
I was like, no, y'all did not play.
And the best part was when he looks at Ryan Reynolds like, I don't like you. And like, you never did.
Yeah,
because of the
there's a history there.
There was a history. So of all the cameos, you didn't expect this one to happen.
I didn't expect Blade to pop up in this one. I was like, what?
And toward the end, when they're storming the Ant-Man thing, he goes, he's shooting opening the hands up. He goes, there will only be one blade. There will always be one blade. And Deadpool looks at the camera like,
I was when he said that, I popped on that one. I was like, yeah, you're right.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah, when Danny he was elbowing the ribs like, yes, I was wild. Because that whole scene, like that whole area was getting slow. Like
it was getting slow.
I don't know what you call that area. I forgot. I was like,
the void.
So yeah, like Danny said earlier, it helped when they all showed up and we got to see the cameo. And of course, we also got good old Gambit, which
Gambit.
Good
That
old
was really
Good old Gambit.
Can I get an A-man to one of the best Cajun accents ever put to film?
Channing Tatum did a good job with that, huh? At first, I was like, "Oh, he just said le bon temps roulé just to be whatever." It's like cliche. But then they kept on talking. I was like, "Oh, sounds like Kirk."
He went full Bobby Boucher.
All day.
He did. He
All
committed.
day. It was interesting to see him in the costume because, again, that's something I've always wanted to know how that looked on screen.
I didn't think it worked as well on screen. Like you look at it like, oh my God, that's a little bit too. But you know what was really fun? Was watching him fight.
Oh, yes,
and the
it was.
cards and the staff. And like when he was fighting, I'm like, oh man.
Oh, when he expanded that deck and just went at it, I was like, oh, yes.
This is why I loved Gambit was always one of my favorite X-Men.
Gambit
not
rocks.
my favorite X-Men. And
That was Gambit. That was Gambit.
That was
Channing
100% Gambit when he was
Tatum
fighting.
is a little too beefy to be the character on film.
I would agree with that.
But when he was fighting, that's Gambit.
Yeah.
Channing Tatum was supposed to be Gambit years ago. So he's probably been studying that accent for a little bit.
Yeah, this is true.
Elektra
Noxious.
Elektra
I
was
loved to see
awesome.
her. That was great.
Yes, I
thought the joke about her not worried the fact that Daredevil was dead was hilarious.
Yeah.
Because, the real life, him, the Daredevil, Ben Affleck Daredevil got divorced. And so I thought that was pretty hilarious that she made that comment.
Although it would have been fun if J-Lo would have played Elektra. Like that would have been funny if Daredevil. Recast that.
Wow.
Like if you could do it with the Juggernaut, why not? Like just as a funny little homage, have Daredevil and because he got thrown out because Henry Cavill showed up in this movie.
Yeah,
that was awesome. The cavalry.
Aside from the mask, that was the best thing to pop up in that movie. When he turned around, I was like, "Oh my goodness!"
I thought
comment about it. We will do so much better than that box down the street. Come on.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
He deserves some love too. I was really
Absolutely.
depressed with the way DC treated him.
That was a whole mess with those guys.
That was awful. I thought he was the best Superman I've ever seen.
Yes, I would agree. I would definitely get. But it
he looked pretty good as a Wolverine. I was like,
I'm really happy he got his due with this because I think there's a couple people are going to be like, "Oh wow, he looked the part."
Just the part. Yeah.
He definitely looked the part. Speaking of looking the part, what did you think about the seismically accurate Wolverine that we got to meet?
I thought that was
explain
the
that.
cartoon Wolverine. That's what I
is
called
that the
it.
cartoon Wolverine?
So this is one. No, not the cartoon Wolverine. This is what I meant by now. You got to understand the comics. There's a whole scene where you get to see the Weapon X cover. Wait, no, not the Weapon X cover. Where
You talking about the crucified?
The crucified on the X cross thing.
Yes,
that's a very famous
Mark
comic book
Silvestri
cover.
drawn. Yeah,
there you go.
That goes into comic book stuff. Yes. Okay.
That's a famous comic book.
And
cover.
then there was the apocalyptic Wolverine from the Age of Apocalypse that you got to see that was missing a hand, and you got to see Patch, who was like his James Bond kind of alter ego.
Right.
So like all that was comic service until you get to I think Kirk's got something to say.
Yeah, one more. The classic John Byrne.
Yeah, he's the other.
Oh, the outfit, the brown and yellow.
Yeah,
the brown and yellow.
That's my favorite,
which
too.
is my favorite Wolverine outfit as well. Yeah.
When he pops the claws and you see Hulk's reflection in it, just like the comic cover.
Just like the comic.
Just like
That was pretty cool.
That was good.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Cover
But-
in case people are.
Then the other cameo, I forgot about that one. Thank you, Kirk. Then the other one was when he gets off the bar stool, you see how short he is. That is how tall Wolverine is supposed to be in the comics.
Because he's supposed to be like a Wolverine.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like an itty bitty little guy.
Yeah.
And then when you see how it works, and it's like, oh yeah, now you can see why it doesn't work well on film.
Yeah, that's why I called him cartoon Wolverine.
Wolverine's supposed to be 5'3" in the books.
Yes.
Yeah, he's always the shortest one. But they had the cartoon that he's in that outfit with the black shirt. That's why I call it
Hugh
that.
Jackman's much taller than that.
But again, I'm glad that they were ambitious enough to say this is how it would look on screen, because that's one thing I was thinking about, like Galactus. Like I was like, oh, it'd be cool to see Galactus on screen. Then they show us these cloud creatures. I'm over cloud creatures, by the way.
Clown creatures?
They're all cloud monsters.
Goliath. Okay, yeah.
So like they did that with Galactus, but one of the things that they said was, imagine how that would really look. We can't do that. It's purple and all the stuff is all color issues. So I was like, oh, okay, Wolverine, I get it. He would be too small, be too weird for that in the movie.
That was funny to see that though. It was kind of like a Munchkin Land kind of thing.
Yes, and everything happened so quick.
Oh, that's the thing. That whole montage was so fast.
Yes.
Let's talk about